All right, first of all, I'd like to say praise the Lord, everybody.
Howard Lathan.
A gentleman.
I'm just so grateful to be able to call him my dear friend.
Howard is what we would call a people's person.
Boy, what can I say about Howard Lathan?
And Howard's record speaks for him.
He's the man.
A young man at the time who was concerned about all of the people.
And we become more than friends. We are indeed brothers.
And I've been knowing Howard for about 40-something years. He's been around in the community on the west side and the south side, and every time I turn around, he's all over the place, you know.
A scholar, a motivator, a stimulator, an activist.
Most people know Howard from his work on the west side. What folks may not know, Howard has had a much broader influence. His influence is throughout Chicago, throughout Cook County, throughout the state, and indeed throughout the country.
Howard was there with Major all the time, but he also has been there since Major and in his own right.
Was I heard this crazy story about an individual standing out in the courtyard, going out in the courtyard, having heard that there were going to be gang fights, and this individual went out in the midst of those two warring gangs and talked them down. I thought, who in the world would do something like that?
Would you believe Howard was out there trying to stop him? He was a young boy trying to stop. That's the only reason why I came out there.
Yeah.
Because of Howard.
Daring, but yes, caring too, to make a difference. But that thing that got me more than anything was those kids.
Right.
They were going to be in the middle of something that didn't want to see happen. And the guys who were doing the show, we knew who they were. We just, hey man, you know,
Right.
It was that kind of thing.
The most important thing about it is Howard is always helping kids.
As the presiding judge of the juvenile court, I have a certain position in terms of what I expect out of my kids who appear before me. And Howard was one of those persons who supported that 100%. He also felt that we had an obligation to try to save some of these young black men.
And from that, we started generating, resources, training volunteers, and doing those kinds of things to ensure that this is here for those young people and families coming behind us.
I tell you, Howard, as you mentioned, Howard likes to work behind the scenes. A lot of stories he will not tell. And let me just tell you this one story that folks don't know about, because he doesn't even tell this story. Many years ago, Howard was working here as one of our directors. And there was a young man who would come by and see Howard. And I say every week this young man would be in Howard's office, and Howard offered this young man a benefit of his knowledge. The young man did not work for us, was not paid by us, but Howard was always there to help him. This young man was named Barack Obama. And that was before Barack became famous. Barack was a young, struggling organizer in the community that happened to know about Howard Lathan.
Working with Chicago Area Project, Howard would help people to form organizations, community organizations all over the city.
And he comes down to Springfield and he tracked me down and he said, Senator, we need some money for these kids for the summer and all year round.
You know, he connects the dots, right? I mean, he goes to Springfield and he lobbies, right, for Chicago Area Project. But at the same time, next thing you know, you see guys who come from Henry Horner down in Springfield lobbying for other organizations. Howard done hooked them up and taught them the game.
A person filled with integrity.
You recall a few years ago, with a different administration in Springfield, the government decided to close down pretty much social service programs, human service providers. During that year, Howard was laid off, as well as all of my chief leaders were all laid off. The measure of a man is what he does in a time of crisis. During that year, when he was not getting paid, had to dip into his savings and use his savings to survive on, there were many people who came to Howard in crisis, in trouble, couldn't pay their rent, couldn't pay their mortgage, one problem or another. I know personally that Howard dipped into his own funds to help those people, even though not making a salary, not getting paid at all for 12 straight months. Now, he may not want folks to know this. Well, it's too late now because I already spilled the beans.
You know, working for Howard for 5, 6, 7 years directly, you know, he knew about personal challenges I was having. So to have someone that would, you know, spend time with you and give you some fatherly advice.
Howard was a supervisor of mine at a great organization called Chicago Area Project.
Like just to actually put his hands on and be involved, I mean, I just really am appreciative and grateful for it.
He was a great leader. I learned so much from Howard.
You know, Howard is a guy that he's basic in his response to stuff, you know what I mean? Practical, you know, common sense.
That's why I'm here, because I'm standing on the shoulders of those individuals who were there as a young man as I was growing up, you know, so I think that's only my responsibility to do this.
I have been involved at some point with some programs from time to time, but I started feeling guilty because here's a guy who was totally involved all the time. And you know, when I saw these kids at different events and how involved he was and how happy he was to see them either, you know, on a marching band or some activities that they were doing that was part of, you know, what Major Adams and his organization was about, I really felt like I needed to be more involved.
And part of that call or that rally to get people engaged is this volunteer.
I would ask him something or say a problem I had with somebody and say, listen, check this out. What part did you play in it? Yeah, I scratch my head and say, yeah, you got a point, you know what I mean? So
we need their involvement as volunteers, and they can do that in many different ways. You know, it's not always, it's service, it's being here for the young people, what have you, but it's also in the giving of resources or access to get resources or the like. But it's important that people who are from this experience be of service and give back.
And if there's anybody who deserves a Lifetime Achievement Award, it is Howard Lathan.
Yeah, so bless you, Howard. God bless you. Continue to bless you, your legacy, bless your life, and may you have many, 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 many more years in this great work that we do.
This is a man that should have his name on streets, right? So he should be, has an honorary street on the west side and the south side, maybe an expressway, who knows, but everyone needs to know who Howard Lathan is.
Well done, our good and faithful servant.
What I know about Howard is if you make it in life, if he has poured into your life and you make it, he's happy.
You have served our young people extremely well. Howard Lathan, well done.
If you pour into people and you see that they have done something and they have turned around and now give back and pour to others, I think that's how we thank him.
Howard, I'm proud of you. You are so much deserving of this award, and I wish you the best of luck, brother. Thank you so much, and God bless you.